Yes. Put your names on both of these. So this is an example of what we call the Cornell method. So with the Cornell method, you have two sides. So on one side, you can put questions, and on the other side, you can put notes. What type of things do you put in the notes category? What type of notes do you take?
The main idea.
Good. The main idea and important details. So keep in mind that the information that we're going to go over here in just a few minutes, it involves vocabulary. So vocabulary strategies more specifically. So as we're going through this, do you write down everything that I say?
No.
Yeah.
No. You don't write down everything I say. In addition to that, I want you to be very careful with writing down all of the information when the screen pops up, because instead you need to write it down as we're talking about it. That's going to help you listen to me and know what's going on at the same time. So keep those things in mind. On the left-hand side, you have room for questions. Make sure you have the notes together before you develop any questions. The back side is just another form of the Cornell notes. It's the same concept essentially, but we're going to use, you can use one side or the other. It doesn't matter which side. Sorry. Okay? So we are going to practice by taking notes over the information that I'm getting ready to go over with you. We're going to be talking a little bit about vocabulary strategies. So as we talk about these vocabulary strategies, again, don't write down every single thing that's on here. Write down the key ideas. Write down anything new, any new terms that you may have learned. So the first part of this is looking at what we call context clues. So when you come across a word that you don't know in a reading, it's very important. It's really important that you don't stop reading. Why do you think it's important that if you're reading and you come across a word that you don't know, you don't stop?
You might lose your place where you are.
You might miss the idea of the story.
Okay. So you are going to decrease your comprehension by taking yourself out of that word. How many of you come across unfamiliar words and you think, hey, I'll look it up in the dictionary real quick? Yeah. That's the worst thing that you can do because you decrease your comprehension. It's kind of like when you're exercising, which I don't know a lot about, but when you're exercising and you stop and you take 5, man, now I've got to get back on.
Dropping your heart rate back down.
And you're exhausted, you don't want to get back on. You don't want to get back on the treadmill. You don't want to get back on the elliptical. Whatever it is, you don't want to go back because you've taken a break. So your body is like, nah, I'm not into it. Same thing happens with reading comprehension. You're going, you're activating your neurons, and then you stop and you take yourself out of that situation by looking something up. And then when you try to re-engage, you lose some of the information. So it's important that when you come across a word that you don't know, don't stop. So just keep reading. So when you come across a word that you don't know, keep reading. So when a teacher says things a couple of times, that's probably important and you need to write it down. So when you come across a word that you don't know, don't stop reading. Just keep going. So when we come across those words that we don't know, the best strategy to use is called context clues. We use the rest of the sentence, and sometimes the sentence before or after, to help us judge the meaning of the word. So we use what we call the context of the sentence to figure it out. Many times when you come across terms or you come across words that you don't know, the author will give you a synonym. What's a synonym?
Something the same thing as the word.
Good. It's like the word. So they have the same definition. Usually they have the same definition.
What are you saying?
Hmm? The last inning. What? Oh, those are different parts that we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes. So maybe they have a synonym. So oftentimes, bless you, you'll see a word. So let's say noodling. No, wait, that doesn't have a synonym. So if we use clues or hints, this is a synonym for clues. Hints are clues. They're the same thing. They could also use what we call antonyms. So what are antonyms? The words that mean the opposite.
What am I thinking of?
So the antonyms are the words that mean something different. So if I say that he is aggressive, unlike his gentle sister. Gentle is the opposite of aggressive. Sometimes they may actually just give you the definition of a word. That's why I didn't write down noodling. Noodling, which is fishing with your hand and arm.
I got a question for your noodling thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you catch it, the catfish grabs your arm or your finger?
Your
Finger.
arm.
They go in. It just depends on how big they are. These are like 40-pound catfish, so they grab. Yeah, they were up here, but they could just. Yeah, they're little. You can just grab them like that.
Little ones hurt the most.
Yeah, little ones are evil.
Yeah.
They had something like that on
TV.
TV.
Yeah, they sting too. So
They had something like that on TV, and that a program that took the sky.
Yeah.
Some people were going out and doing that noodling.
So, can I use a synonym for noodling? You can't. There's too many layers to it, so we need a definition. But clues, I could explain clues, but it's just easier to give a synonym. Sometimes it's much easier to give something that is the opposite, so giving an antonym. Good. So the definitions are the meaning of word. Now, my favorite is actually examples. Examples are just examples of the word or examples of the concept. So let's talk about my favorite person, my brother. So if I was talking about an idiot, like my brother who makes really, really bad decisions.
Talking about Todd?
No, Todd's my cousin.
Oh.
But, well, no. That might be player or procreator. He has like 5 or 6 kids that we know of.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Dad has 7 that we know.
I know
Hey,
your
I'm
dad
on
too,
with
so
you.
yeah, procreator.
6 that we know of.
There you go. So my brother, he's an idiot. He makes really bad decisions, really, really bad decisions. And I would even add that usually end with him in jail.
Sounds like mom.
Yeah. So this is an example. You could get a synonym, you could get probably the definition, but this example really helps you understand the idea of the concept of maybe a little bit more. Okay? So does this always work? Do we still always understand the meaning of the word? Do we always have synonyms, antonyms, definitions, or examples in a sentence? We don't. So sometimes when we don't have what we need in the context of the sentence, we have just the word and we still can't figure it out, we have to go to the next step, which is looking at what we call prefixes, roots, and suffixes. So essentially, we have to dissect the word. So when you come across the word but you can't figure out the meaning, you dissect it to figure it out. So we are going to look at how we dissect words.
I got that. I'm confused on what I'm supposed to be writing on this paper.
What context clues are, and how to find the context clues.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was doing.
And now we're going to do prefixes, roots, and suffixes. So we're just going to add some
So
more.
what's this part, this blank part for?
Any questions that you have about the information? So most of the time that
This is your
that
notes
should
and
be
this is
blank.
your question.
Miss,
See, on the back.
there's one here with no other people.
I know.
I know, there's
There's
one
one
more.
thing.
That's why.
So what I have just given you guys, is a list of very popular prefixes, roots, and suffixes. So when we come across a word that we don't know, we look at the context clues first. This is just a list of words that help. This is not the only list of words. This is not something you need to memorize in any way, shape, or form. This is just to give you a taste of what these pieces are. So prefixes are the beginning of a word. So prefixes are the beginning of a word. Prefixes are the beginning of a word.
Actually, it's kind of
Yes. So again, if I say it a couple times, it should probably be written down. Yes.
On this
Like
paper?
you said,
On your notes, yes.
that'd be like if you was to look at,
This is roots and suffixes.
like if you was looking at the phone book, you go to look for the beginning of the name.
Let's think more with terms of words, like the word reinvent. When you come across what does that mean?
like you've done it, like, you've done something wrong, you're like,
Do it again.
yeah.
So do again.
Like noodle.
Like what?
He said like noodling, yes.
So when we put in front of a word, it just means that we do it again. So it's the beginning of the word, and it changes the meaning of the word. So invent means to create, to make. So we can make something, or we can make it again. So a prefix comes at the beginning of a word, and it changes the meaning of the word. Do all words have to have prefixes? No. This is still a word. Invent is still a word without the re in front of it. So on this list, you have popular prefixes. Prefixes that we see quite a bit. Ex, ex, exhale, expel. It just means from. In, in or into. So these are words that we see, these are prefixes that we see often, and they just change the meaning of the word itself. Not every word has to have a prefix. So the next part is a root. So the root is the base or the foundation of the word. The base or the foundation of the word. Every word has to have a root. It's the foundation. So invent is the root of this word. Good so far? So the last part of this is the end of the word. Sorry, it's called a suffix. So the suffix is at the bottom of the third page and onto that last page. The suffix changes the job of the word. Changes the job or the meaning. The job or meaning. Sorry, this is so low. That's a mess, I promise. So the suffix is at the end of the word, and it changes the job or the meaning. So right now, reinvent is what part of speech? Is it a noun? Is it a verb? What part of speech is it?
Prefix?
That's the prefix. So reinvent,
It's an adverb.
it's an adverb. It's describing a noun.
No.
No, I thought it was
A verb?
It's a verb. You can do this. You can reinvent something. You can do it.
I thought it was.
That's an action.
So it's an action word, so it's a verb. But what happens if I do this? So now, good. Now it is a noun.
No, it's a noun.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So ION at the end of a word makes it a noun.
Ooh, that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So this is a reinvention of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Somebody has done it again. This is the physical thing. But if I'm in the process of doing this, or I've done this, I've reinvented the story, then that's an action. So the ION at the end of a word makes it a noun. LY at the end of the word makes it an adverb. So quickly, badly, hurriedly, carelessly, judiciously, helpfully. Those make it an adverb.
Our notes are supposed to be over here and then our questions over here, right?
Question, yeah, flip-flops, but if you've already got them written that way, then that's
Did I
fine.
do it wrong?
Those are your notes, that's fine.
Okay.
The questions go on the,
I had it backwards.
yeah. Annotating, we just usually flip it, because you look at the left more often on this sheet.
I go with these are wrong. Am I supposed to write it on this side or this side? Or
Either one's fine.
Okay.
Yep, they're both the same,
Yeah.
they're just different things I've stolen.
I'll redo it later.
No, it's fine.
That way
It's absolutely fine. And whatever you guys, this is just for you guys to practice with taking notes. It's just to give you guys an idea. So Miss Sheila and I worked on this a lot last term on taking notes because Miss Sheila likes to write down everything.
Sure do.
Which one?
This one.
Oh, that one right
That-
there.
So
Hers is pronounced Sheila, but mine's actually pronounced Shelia. Cause it's Shelia. And hers is Sheila.
Miss Sheila was writing down
Sheila R.
everything
You can go Sheila R.
for her notes, and it wasn't very effective, was it?
What on the note?
When I was when you were writing down everything.
Oh, dude, she knows some.
I didn't miss a thing.
You
But-
weren't missing, but how was it studying?
It was very hard because there was too much information.
Good. So,
I'm the same way. I write everything down too. So.
and that's a problem. And that it's nice to have a lot of information, and it's really nice when you can use that on your test. That's
Like
good.
clustering everything that you're putting in your brain.
You're overloading your SpongeBob file system. Yeah. For those of you who know that episode, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So it's a great episode. I'm gonna get it and I'm gonna show you a clip of it soon. But it is. It's like when you're taking too many notes, when you're writing everything down, you can't take in anything else. So when your teacher is talking, you're overloading your brain and you're not listening to what's being said. It happens all the time. So I cannot tell you how many times I have students who aren't paying attention because they're doing something else and they miss information. And then they have to ask me, and your teachers get very frustrated because we're repeating ourselves like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 times because you didn't listen to the information. So what we say is extremely important. It's important for you guys to pay attention to those things. So again, the highlights of what I said. This is the other thing that you have to pick up on. When a teacher says something 3 or 4 times,
It's important.
it's probably important enough for you to write down. So I said 3 or 4 times that a prefix is at the beginning of a word.
You got it.
Does every word have to have a prefix?
No.
No. Good. It changes the meaning of the word. There are some popular prefixes. Re is a popular one. In, ex. Let me look right side up here. In, we already said that. Just said that. Post is another one. It's after. So when somebody says post-mortem, if you don't know what that means, well, it means after. And then you think of mortem. That's where the base of the word is. So mortem, what does that word remind you of? Those of you who know the word, don't answer. But those of you who don't, mortem, what does that remind you of?
Mortem or
Death, because of mortuaries
sad.
or mortuary science. So it's after death.
Right.
That's it.
That's
all we have to do. So we take the beginning of the word. Not every word has a beginning. We take the base of the word. Does every word have to have one of these? Yes. They have to have a base. They have to have a foundation. Every word has to have a foundation.
Yes.
And then we have a suffix. The suffix changes the meaning or the job of the word. So it can change its part of speech, or it can just add a meaning to it. Another one, this is one of my favorite words, ology. Ology is the study of. Biology is the study of bio, which is life. What about computerology?
Computer.
Study of computers. Good. What about chairology?
What?
Chairology.
Chairology. Study of chairs. Even though they're not legit things, you can figure out the meaning based on those. Nope, absolutely not. So we can make up words based on those suffixes. It's easy to do. Chairology, as far as I know, isn't actually a legit thing. Okay.
It is if you work at school.
Maybe.
You know what coffee James.
Any questions on these pieces?
Actually,
So no one has any questions in your question section.
I had
No.
one right, just like lost it because I forgot to write it down.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember it right now. Let me just. Nope, never mind, I'm good.
We're good? All right, so we're going to practice with this concept. As we practice with this concept, we need to do this in the most organized fashion. So I would ask that you just keep your thoughts to yourself, and when you're ready to answer, raise your hand so I can call on you guys, and if not, everybody has a little bit of time to process. So we are going to practice with your vocabulary words, your first 2 vocabulary words this week. How many vocab words are you going to get on Mondays? 2. What about Tuesdays?
3.
2. And then Wednesdays?
1.
1, and we review all 3 of them, or all 5 of them. Thursdays are a test. So on Thursdays, you have a vocab quiz. We'll talk more about the structure later this week. So the first of your vocabulary words, they're very similar. So annotations. Annotations is your first vocabulary word. So you can write this on your notes. You have your Cornell notes that you could write this on.
Oh, I have a piece of paper.
Okay, that's fine. If you want to write it on a separate piece of paper, that's fine as well.
I had to bother me too much.
That's fine. So we are going to dissect this word, and then we're going to look at the second word, which is annotating. So when you come across the word annotations, what do you see in there?
ION.
Thomas?
ION.
Okay, so ION, and you just learned that ION makes it what?
And now,
Okay, so it's a noun, and you get that from the ION.
Yeah.
Now what about that S?
It's more than one.
makes it more.
Okay, so it's a plural
Now.
noun. Good. Now, what other word do you see in the word? Let's just go to the front part of it. Annotate. What do you see in that word? Thomas?
And
Okay. And.
I see dictation.
I see.
Okay. We see tations. Anything else? If we take the prefix off, and the prefix is and we'll get to that in a minute. What else do you see?
Not.
Once you have stripped out,
Not.
Notation.
okay, notation or note.
Nope.
Does anybody see note?
Yep.
Now?
Not.
Yeah,
but
but-
no.
Not, but now
And
you see
not
no.
E.
Okay, so what's a note?
Verb.
Something you
What
jot
you
down.
doing? Write down no.
Okay, so it's a note of something. It's writing it down in the margins. So it's something that is written down in the margins.
So what's the plural now?
That ION, the ending, the ION
What's
ending,
the
makes it a noun. I'm going to get that in a minute. And then the S makes it plural. Okay? So this is not something that we necessarily have to know for the test. You will this time because this is going to be helpful for you guys to remember. But annotations are notes taken on piece.
Is that all the answer?
Notes that are taken on the piece. What do we mean by piece?
Whatever you're writing on.
Okay, whatever it is that you're reading. It's taking notes directly on that.
The idea of what we're talking about.
So whatever it is that you're reading, annotations are taking notes in the margins of that.
Yes.
Or taking notes on it, directly on it. It happens to be a plural noun.
That's the definition.
This is the definition. Okay. But be on time later.
About
Okay. This is the part of speech. So what if we change the ending? What if we just change the IONS to ING? Raise your hand. ING, annotating, ING what? What do you think it does? If I say going, hunting, fishing, Marissa?
Verb.
It makes it what we call a progressive verb. Now, progressive just means that it's in action. So it's something that's going on right now. So for annotating, we're doing it right now.
So annotations is a progressive.
Yep, this is the part of speech.
What now?
This is the part of speech. It's a progressive verb, so that means it's in action.
So it has more than one part of speech.
No, it's just the verb. It's just the type of verb. So this is the specific type of verb. So it's taking notes on the piece.
So that's annotating.
It's the same concept. It's just two different parts of speech.
So
So this is a thing, and this is something you're doing. So
Yes.
this is a noun.
So it turns it into a verb.
It turns it into a verb. Thomas?
Are we gonna have to remember the
That what
definition
annotating
or the
means?
part of speech?
Both.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sheila?
Is that what we're annotating?
Is
So
that-
now I'm totally lost.
Okay.
Are we doing both words?
Yes, these are both your vocabulary words.
So they both mean the same, they just have different,
One is something
parts
you're,
of speech.
yes, one is something you're doing and one is something you have.
Okay, that makes sense.
So notice how the definition reflects the part of speech. So notes are a thing.
Notes is not.
Taking
What?
is a verb.
Someone saying.
Yeah.
Jump on that.
Nobody's home.
Maintenance, why don't you come on Monday morning while we're in class?
Oh, the maintenance man?
Not ours here, but
Oh.
they're probably doing something, yeah. So, notes are a thing. Taking is a verb. So, the definition matches up with the part of speech.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Also notice this part even matches up. Notes are plural, just like we have over here. This is progressive, just like we have over here. So what if, this is not one of our words, but what if I said, so this is not a vocabulary word, but let's practice with this. This is still the same concept, but now we are,
The beginning.
do it again. Yep, this is the prefix that means do again.
Prefix.
What about this? Es.
Plural.
In this instance, normally S means plural. Reannotates.
Doing it? A verb?
Good. It's a verb. What if,
Let's go like that one a moment.
okay, what if we did this?
And
No, adjective. Adjective.
Reannotated.
conjunction.
Jumped.
Verb.
It's a verb. What kind of verb?
Action verb?
Okay. Is it something you're doing right now?
No, you already did it.
Okay, so it's a past tense verb. Good. So ed makes it past tense.
Oh, did it. I knew that.
So the great thing about word parts is the more that you are aware of them, the more that you can actually start to figure words out. This is how I picked up on language very quickly. The 4 years in Spanish and 4 years in French at the same time, I was able to pick up on the parts that are similar. English. Tiny bit of Hungarian.
I do not know no Espanol.
And I did really well in Italy, even though I didn't know a lick of Italian. I did really well there because I know parts. So I was able to figure out what they were saying because I know word parts.
Oh, I've been there.
I don't want to go there. I'm never going.
And it wasn't worth it. No, it was worth it, but
I'm like,
Hey,
it's not worth ever going back.
so I'm like that. I'm just don't see it.
All right, questions?
No.
No.
Let's put time out for
So we are going to go over some parts of speech. So we are going to add to what you guys did last week. So what I want you to do,
What did we do last week?
Yeah.
we did nouns and verbs.
Okay.
That's it. That's all we
The
focused
cup thingies?
on. With the paint chips, yeah.
Alright.
So what we're going to do, you guys can, we're not going to do any more vocabulary today, so you can put those away.
Yay.
On your notes, the Cornell notes that I gave you, whatever side you used, I want you to use the other side if you want, no wait, sorry, take that back. I'm going to give you something to take notes on. So you can put these away.
Both of them?
Yes, you can put everything away
Is there a pencil?
except your pencils.
No.
Okay, I'll give you more later.
Axel has?
Yeah.
Okay. What is it called?
So now on the words we're gonna be tested on, do we need to know the exact spelling of them?
No, they will always be up here.
Because that's the only thing that bother me.
Yeah, you guys never have to spell them on your own. They will always be listed up here.
So we just need to know what they are and be able
What,
to
two words?
We have 2 words.
Study.
Yes. And later this week, so this is going to be important for you guys.
Yeah, what you said.
Later this week, we are going to work on some study skills, but also focus on test-taking skills and strategies. I used to do this only with English 3, but I realized English 2 students probably need it more. And I used to do it at the end of the term, but I realized students need it for everything. So I'm going to show you guys some strategies later this week that impact every test that you ever take. You can use it for driving tests. You can use it for math tests. You can use it for ECA. You can use it for anything that you ever take a test on. Okay. Good. My son, he's not a great driver, but he can ace a test because I've been teaching him test taking skills for a long time. So he can BS his way through a test because he knows strategies that will help him. So just keep that in mind. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is going to be stressful. So just breathe through it. I have these things written down so you can focus in on the details of what you want to add to this. So I would suggest that you make notes on this piece of paper to help it make sense to you. So it may not make sense when you read it. It may not make sense when we first talk about it, but you may be able to figure it out. If it makes sense to you, write it down. Whatever makes sense to you, write that down. So we are going to go over the parts of speech. As we do this, we're going to talk about what they are. Some of them are pretty set. They only have some. They don't have a bazillion.
They have a million.
Some of them, it feels like they have a bazillion. They feel very infinite. So they feel like they go on and on and on and on.
What they actually do.
So, we are going to go through these one at a time. They are not in the same order as they are in the paper. Because I had to move this thing around a bazillion times. We are going to go over some of them, and then we are going to take a break. And then come back and go over the rest. So the first one is the article. Articles, the second one on the front side of this. Articles are the most simple, so we'll start with the most simple things. Articles tell you which one. There are only 3 articles. A, and, the. That's it.
And we just doing the same thing.
For those of you who remember the do now, you can actually look at that if you want to and see which ones you got wrong.
I didn't even do them. I just left them done.
Okay. So A, and, or the are the only 3 articles.
Ooh.
So what you said?
A, and, or the.
Those are the only ones I was missing. Those 2.
So it tells which one. So if I say, I need you to get a chair, it doesn't matter which chair you grab. But if I say, get the chair,
You're gonna ask us.
I want you that specific one. Good. And is only used when it's not specific and there is a vowel sound at the beginning of the next word. So if I'm talking about the elephant, I'm talking about the specific elephant. But if I'm talking about an elephant, I'm talking about any old elephant.
What about
And what?
And then wows and interjection. Then wows and interjection.
It has to be a vowel sound.
Because it says it right here.
So honor starts with an H, but it sounds like an O sound, honor. So that vowel sound is what you have to go with.
the H is just silent?
The H is silent in that one, yes. So article's pretty simple, right? A and the. That's it. Which one? It shows you which one.
Yeah.
So let's go down to interjections. Interjections are usually a bit more fun.
It's at the very top of the
It's
page.
at the very top of the page, it's at the bottom here. So interjections show emotion. The thing that you need to know about interjections, if they are showing a strong emotion that you should feel, then they use an exclamation mark. Interjections can also use a comma.
Yeah.
The comma shows, listen up, less emotions.
How does a comma show emotion at all?
Verb.
An exclamation mark shows intense emotion.
That makes sense. It really does. I never thought of it.
So interjections, I want you to think of those as the stuff that goes in the Batman and the thought bubbles, the kapow, bam, woo. Those are things that show some kind of feeling, some kind of emotion. They really serve no other purpose but to evoke emotion. Cuss words go in here. Cuss words are interjections. They are. Except for a couple of them. Most of them are just interjections. So when you stub your toe, you say, that's an interjection with an exclamation mark. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next one is a noun. Nouns we've talked about as a person, place, thing, or idea.
Ain't there one more that you add to now?
Person, place, thing, or idea. Am I right over there?
Focus, guys.
Nouns. We're on nouns.
Yep, we're on nouns.
The name of anything.
So I was trying to think of, I was looking at your test, and I was trying to think of a way to help you guys remember and think about how to identify a noun. Some of you really struggled with that, but then you were able to do it in other places.
Brain fart.
So I came up with something that you can do.
Okay.
So if you want to figure out if a word is a noun, oh, and I have it written on here. There it is. I was looking for it. Think to yourself, draw Mrs. Warner a picture of. If it fits in there, and it's going to be really hard to maybe draw a picture of it, but it makes sense, then it's probably a noun.
What's it?
What? Let me explain this. So, if I say fire, draw me a picture of fire. Could you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is,
Or house.
Doesn't have to be beautiful. But if I say, draw me a picture of integrity.
Whoa.
That's not.
Okay.
That's not even really draw.
But it's something that you could represent.
yeah.
Right? So that is a concept or an idea instead of being an object. So if I say, draw a picture of your friend.
What friend?
Is it a noun?
Yes.
It's a noun.
Describing.
Okay. If I say, draw me a picture of fishing.
You can do fish.
But it's not a noun.
It's not a noun. Good. It's a thing. If I say, draw me a picture of someone fishing.
Then
it would be a noun.
Someone is the noun. Okay? So we have a few types of nouns. Keep in mind that this is stuff that you guys are going to have on midterms and finals. This is stuff that you guys have to grasp before you can move on to 3.
So do you want us to draw you something?
No. But this was my way of helping you guys grasp this concept. Because as I was looking through that list of things, you guys were struggling. Some of you guys more so than others. So the things that you need to know about nouns. Nouns are a person, place, thing, or idea. We have regular nouns like chair, school. But we also have pronouns. Pronouns, they take the place of a noun. So they take the place of a noun. So I can say the Boschik, that's a specific brand, or I can say the pencil sharpener. There we go, we're not proper nouns yet. I can say the pencil sharpener, or I can say it is right there. It takes the place of that. So pronouns just take the place. Instead of saying Dennis, 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 I can say he, or I can say you. If I'm talking to him, I say you. If I'm talking about him, I say he. If I'm talking about Dennis and Tabby, I can say Dennis and Tabby, Dennis and Tabby, Dennis and Tabby, Dennis and Tabby. Or I can say they. Or I can say you both, or you guys, you. Them is a different type. It's not a pronoun. So the list of pronouns, I, you, he, she, it, they, and we. Those are all the pronouns. So they take place of a person or people. So we also have proper nouns. So proper nouns are just specific nouns. Proper nouns are capitalized.
Like names,
Yes.
cities, states.
So if I say school, just talking about a school. But if I say the Excel Center, that's a proper noun.
So, exact,
Specific.
be exact on the proper noun, like, or specific. that's the
Specific,
word.
yeah. Yep. Specific ones. So I can say the student, or I can say Mandy. So if I'm talking about the student, that may not be specific enough. So I want to say somebody's name. Those things are capitalized. I can talk about a city, or I can talk about Kokomo. Busy Kokomo?
Busy, Kokomo is busy.
No, it's not busy.
Kokomo is busy.
No,
So
Cheer.
go to LA.
proper nouns, again, proper nouns are capitalized. So keep that in mind.
Proper nouns are capitalized?
Yes.
Your name is capitalized. Right. Okay.
So if I say I'm going to the doctor, is that capitalized?
No.
No. But if I say I'm going to see Dr. Hot,
Yes.
Oh, no.
yes.
That's my family. I don't like
So his name, the DR period HOTT, the D and the H are capitalized. Proper nouns are going to be capitalized. But if you're just talking about it in general, it's not capitalized. So when you guys are talking about your teacher, is that capitalized?
No.
No. But when you're talking about Mrs. Warner,
That's capitalized.
that's capitalized. So one of the things that I still see like English 5 students doing, they forget when to capitalize and when something is proper, when it's not proper. So if I'm talking about my mom, is that capitalized?
No.
No. But when I'm talking about my mom specifically, so I say, Mom went to the store,
That would be capitalized.
that is capitalized because that's what I call her. Unless I would
Right,
get
and
back in.
every beginning of the sentence is a capitalized letter.
It does. So if I said my mom and dad, or if I say my mom and dad,
No.
no, because I'm talking about mine specifically, so I'm not referring to them. But if I say Mom and Dad helped me this weekend.
That'll be capitalized.
That is capitalized. Good.
Could you go Mom Carol and Dad Bill if you were talking to somebody else?
Yes.
That would be capitalized, right?
If you're like talking my mom, Carol, my dad, Bill.
Yeah. To
Yes.
somebody else, that's still
Yes, but the appropriate punctuation around that would be my lowercase mom, Carol, capitalized.
right.
And my lowercase dad, Bill, capitalized.
Right.
Okay. I'm gonna give you guys a break because you're looking like, ooh, okay.
Too much stuff to carry in.
So let's meet back here at just take a 5 minute this time. So 11:15.
11:15.